Aloha everyone and welcome to Skincare with Hyram. If you don't know who I am, my name is Hyram and I'm passionate about teaching you how to perfect your skincare routine. And today we have an amazing guest. I am so excited to introduce her to all of you guys because she has been such an incredible source of inspiration for me and for people in my life. Yeonmi Park.
Oh my god, thank you so much for having me.
Just to give a little backstory, can I share how I first came to know of you before even this entire collab happened?
Yeah, I'm curious too actually.
Yeah, so I'd say it was, man, 3 or 4 years ago. There was a video that was really popular. I believe it was at a summit or some type of conference. And I remember you were sharing your story and I watched the video before I was going to just get ready for the day. Your video touched me so much. I couldn't stop crying because your story was just incredible and the emotion you expressed and everything was just amazing. And I remember crying watching your video and thinking, who is this person? I need to know their story more. And I was able to find that you have a book.
Oh my god.
I read your book soon after finding that video. Incredible book. Guys, I highly recommend that you get her book. It's called In Order to Live. Incredible account, sharing in detail everything that you've gone through and just your incredible story. I'll have it linked in the description box below. I remember reading it and I told my friends, I was like, you guys have to read this book, read it. Recently, how this collaboration happened is I found that you have a YouTube channel, which is amazing. Tell us a little bit about your YouTube channel.
Yeah, so during the COVID, it wasn't able for me to do advocacy work. So I work as a human rights activist, and my main goal is really educating public what is happening to North Korean people, because often media is very focusing on the dictator's haircut, right, or the nuclear programs they got, but rarely they talk about human lives. There are people like me and you are living there. I decided to share that on YouTube, and I'm so glad I did, so I got to connect with you.
Yeah, she has an incredible channel. I'll also have it linked down below. I think the videos that you create are so great because they provide a much more clear picture of what life is like and what the concerns and struggles are, instead of, like you said, what we see in the media, which is often very sensationalized and more focused on just getting kind of emotional responses rather than really painting an accurate picture of what life is actually like there. So your videos are great. I love them. You were 13, I believe, when you went to China, was it?
Yeah, so when I escaped, I was 13 and it was a long journey in China. Eventually, I crossed the Gobi Desert to Mongolia at 15, and in South Korea, that's when I became safe for the first time.
You're such a beacon of light. When I first saw your video of you talking, and even talking to you now, it's so amazing to see the positivity you radiate, because after all the life experiences you've been through, it's incredible to see how bright of a person you can be. But I'm sure it's taken time to settle after all of that.
Going through something what I went through, it was almost like doing going to different universe, going to a different planet. So really, I know how blessed I am. I'm just purely luck made me to be, even survive right now and talking to you. So it's still so surreal to me, actually.
It's surreal to me. I am so lucky and so blessed to be able to have you on my channel, and I think more importantly, talk about something that's way more important than just skincare. Sharing your story. I'd love for you to not only share some of the things about skincare and what it's like in North Korea versus what it's like now, but also just for you to share little bits of your story to my audience, because I hope people can walk away from this video knowing not only what your story is and hopefully getting your book, because I highly recommend it. It's very good. Also just knowing more of what is actually going on there, so that we can do something to help and just be more informed. But as we get into this, let's first start by talking a little bit about skincare. When we were messaging back and forth, you said that you're really interested in skincare. So what has your skincare journey been like?
I'm obsessed with it. Almost it's like my religion. Yeah, somehow I got a really bad breakouts since I was 15 or 14. And it was so bad, my breakouts or in my neck here, my chest, in my back. It was horrible. There was not even one spot it was flat. I really hated it. I sometimes thought can I just peel all this off? Maybe what's in there? Why it causing me so much breakout? So I think that really got me interested in like how to taking care of my skin.
Yeah, I mean, for a lot of us, that first step into skincare is us having like problems with our skin. Like for me, I had like wrinkles in my forehead and like around my eyes at 18 years old. And yeah, I know it was bad. For you, did you start skincare when you were like around 15 years old, or was it something that you started when you were younger and actually in North Korea?
I mean, we are going to talk about skincare in North Korea, but there are like elite people, you know, using skincare products, but the commoners like don't even know what sunscreen is. So, you know, like we literally use a coin to draw the like eyebrows because we don't got the pencil. Yeah, like you try it. When you travel, you lost all your bags, try the coin, and if you draw on your like hand, it like draws some like a dark blue purple look. Yes, that's how we draw our like eyebrows. Coins works. So that's why if you look at North Koreans and the South Koreans, even the same people, North Koreans almost look like Vietnamese, way tanner. And South Koreans are a lot paler because of the sun protection.
So you said that there was the difference in skincare between the elite and the more commoners. So skincare was pretty difficult to find.
Yeah, there's not even like a conception of what skincare or self-care is. Because the North Korea, even though it began as a communist, they created different 50 classes. So you think about like how many classes there, right? The different standing in the society that you are born into. And if you are born into really top class, they have access to everything. But the most of people on the bottom don't even know like they don't even have the vocabulary for skincare is. Yeah, so never, like we literally take bath in the river. And in the winter, we don't take bath. We don't have a shower. So our life is like a 16th, 15th century, you know.
So you sent me these pictures over message. It's two different skincare sets.
Yeah, so Kim Jong-un has a lot of pleasure squad members. And a lot of high officials have the same thing. And then, so they are, in a way, like export beauty in some sense. So North Korea like sends tons of beauty squad to South Korea and to try to make North Korea be more normal. So to do that, like Kim Jong-un demanded North Korean scientists to develop their own skincare for these girls, like pleasure squad members and some artists they like want to support. So North Korea tends to go for more like ancient, like ginger, ginseng, more like ancient ingredients. And they really copy, I think, more South Korean products with the steps. It's some of, like, as you can see, those steps are like a lot of steps, right? So I think they're more copying South Korean steps, like, you know, like toner, like the emulsion, like, you know, lotion, all of that. So yeah, I can see North Korea is more like prone to the ancient culture. So they are very proud of like the whatever they had like for the thousands of years. But I mean, who knows if it's really true or not? But ingredients, Alice always said, and that's how promoted. Like, you know, this is how people like stayed beauty for thousands of years ago, and I'm not sure.
Which is, you know, interesting because for me, so much of, I'll be honest, Korean skincare is like my obsession. I love, it's just, there's so many incredible ingredients, and a lot of the ingredients, like you said, have a history of being used for thousands of years. You mentioned one of the ingredients, like ginger. That's one of my favorite ingredients in skincare. I love the benefits that you can see in your skin from ginger, and even some of the ingredients and techniques. Even if I don't know as much research about it, when I see that an ingredient or a process has been used for thousands of years, I'm like, there's probably something to it. You know, it's probably effective if it's been used for so long. And so that's interesting that they really tap into that. Is that skincare, if you know, is it like more expensive, or is it something that's like exclusively offered to the, you know, elite or to the pleasure groups, like you said?
Yeah, so I smuggled some of them out through my agents in the underground. I brought them to South Korea, and like actually even have some teas from North Korea. So
Really?
yeah, I can send you some postcards from Pyongyang. And so I try them out, and like sometimes like literally they put up some ginseng in the bottle. Actual ginseng in the bottle, and I'm not even sure. Do I eat it or like what do I do with this? But these are the ones is only purely for the elites in Pyongyang. And yeah, Kim Jong gives it to as a gift to a lot of pleasure squad members and a lot of artists and like women that like they choose. So and some like elites they can literally buy it too with the US dollars. They are not cheap, but they're not like Chanel. I think they're more like South Korean products. The price is a bit equivalent to that price range.
Okay. Do you know if other members of society, say other people who live in Pyongyang, are taking care of their skin in different ways, maybe with not like as fancy of skincare? Do you know if they still use fruits or vegetables or different types of like do-it-yourself skincare, or do you not know?
So yes, I know like North Koreans, some like middle class who's not worrying about like surviving constantly, they use more like the ancient way, like natural organic way. So the most common thing is cutting off the cucumber, putting it up. Cucumber is very common practice. And the other thing people do is actually you mix with the egg whites with the flour. So somehow they think it does the pore tightening because the egg whites are like very well applied, dries, tights, right? And then somehow flour hydrates your skin or maybe whitening. I'm not sure where the logic coming from. So yeah, I have tried it. So egg whites and then the flour. And then sometimes when your skin is so dry, North Korean people use the honey. Just apply the honey, and then wash it off. And sometimes like, do you know seaweed? Some type of seaweed, so you dry it and then we apply on the skin. I mean, seaweed is really good for hydration.
Yeah, it is.
So they can like find ways organically to do things.
That is so fascinating. Each of those vegetables or ingredients have a lot of really good skin benefits. So they're definitely like knowledgeable about the skin benefits that you can see. On my channel, I talk a lot about how I'm not a big fan of DIY skincare, like making it yourself. And I think that's more so because in the USA, you can find such affordable skincare that's really good, that's way cheaper than having to like do it yourself. And so for me, it's always like, why not get the benefits without the irritation or the expense of having to buy all the fruits and vegetables yourself. But if you don't have access to that skincare, things like honey, things like cucumbers, oat flour, or seaweed, those all have really, really good skin benefits. And maybe it's because of, the history of skincare for so long and the ancient techniques. Those are all great things that can be used for the skin. So that's so fascinating. The fact that they're still trying to take care of their skin, even though they don't have access to products, I think is admirable because they're using what they have. Skincare is all about like using what resources you have to best take care and be mindful of your skin. And if you don't have products, you don't have products. So the next best thing you can use is those beneficial types of ingredients. They're doing the best they can, which I think is so cool. Do you know if, because I know, and you talked about in your book, and I've read in other accounts as well, a lot of the things that are smuggled into North Korea. Do you know if South Korean skincare, I know makeup is smuggled into North Korea. Is a lot of skincare smuggled in as well?
Skincare, yeah. So I heard like some mask sheet, those packages getting in, but I heard like the one mask sheet costs like a few kilograms of rice. But in North Korea, a doctor's salary, a medical doctor get paid $1 per month. So if they buy a face mask with that money, I mean they're gonna be starved to death, all of them. So I did hear it gets in, but only a few type elites in Pyongyang, like who has connection to the party, buys those mask sheets and like do it like on their face.
Oh my goodness, that is so expensive. Okay, and that totally makes sense. We are talking about skincare, which is obviously a focus of my channel. I also, want to speak to comparing skincare to basic nourishment and, basic things that are needed for human survival. It so does not even compare in importance. Things like that are obviously very relative to the the quality of life you have in relative importance to the struggles that, you know, you used to go through and experience. Transitioning to being interested in skincare, being passionate about it, loving it, you know, and finding interest in it. Was it hard to kind of make that transition from living a life where you had to focus on getting the basic needs and necessities to being able to enjoy things that are fun, and something like skincare, which is not, you know, vital to existence, but is fun, you know, to be involved in? What was it hard making that transition, or what was it like, you know, finding interest in those types of things?
So that was the only thing, like, it was very natural to be drawn to beauty, I thought. And even like you said, right, in North Korea, like, people literally seeing dead bodies on the streets were like my everyday life thing. I never thought I should feel sad about it. Like, no one, it was such a so usual thing. And even that situation, I think, as you said, like, women try to look pretty. They use the coins to make at least their eyebrows, and they like squeeze some flowers and then put on their nail fingers or like their lips, because we don't have like, you know, so we use the flowers to make the lipsticks. And like sometimes chokers, we make the like eyes, you know. And like even when children using their pencil, moms using that like as a lip liner. Even in that situation, beauty is something very natural thing, I think, to humans. I think it's not like some invention that created by birth that people try to look good. Something maybe it was all within us that we pursue beauty. And I guess there's different like degree about it. Of course, in North Korea, you're not gonna go ahead and get a facial and try to do skin steps, right? But still, I think it was, you know, when I was able to afford to buy a cleanser and wash my face, I did. It wasn't hard to adapt. But it was hard in the beginning where like people say, oh, you have to wash your face morning and evening. And like I use them like washing once a week sometimes in North Korea.
Yeah.
And like why?
Definitely.
So method was confusing.
I've tried to learn as much as I can about North Korea from reading your book, reading other people's books, and watching videos about it. And one thing that's so fascinating is the contrast between the upper class and the lower class, essentially how different the lifestyles are like. Because what I've seen in videos is for the elite, it's access to everything, like modern technology, fashion, correct me if I'm wrong, but also like brands from around the world, clothing brands, cosmetics. For the commoners, it's so completely opposite, and people struggle to find even basic resources. Is that correct?
Yeah, so 60% of North Korean population is malnourished severely, and the growth stunt, like I am 5'2", but most of North Korean men are shorter than me right now.
Wow.
So yeah, the growth is really affecting people because we are not eating. So most of people, like, their daily struggle is trying to find food to survive. And as you said, the top elites, they even have a pleasure squad. They like has a system to bringing virgins and girls for them to offer them every single day, and they have their own pleasure squad and satisfied and in every possible way you can imagine. You can find everything in North Korea, and everything is happening in that country.
That it's so horrifying that there is that percentage of the population doesn't even have access to basic human resources. The question in my mind that's always been present is, you know, why are there still countries around the world or people around the world that don't have access to food and to water? When I get to live in this luxurious lifestyle, you know, when I have access, I've never even had to question, you know, about not being able to be properly nourished. And there's so many people around the world who are still struggling with that. And it's angering, but for me, it also pushes me to ask, like, you know, what can be done? How can I help? How can other people help? And it's hard with North Korea because it is so disconnected and so closed off from the world. Is that correct?
Yes, it's so hard because North Korea is it's almost called the hermit kingdom. If you see the satellites photos, it is literally the darkest place on earth. In this 21st century, 90% population do not even have electricity. and they don't even know the existence of internet. If I tell them like what Zoom is or the Skype is, they were thinking like I'm talking about some foreign language, like different planet, you know, that kind of situation.
Wow.
So almost like coming from North Korea, I was like, I felt like I took a time machine and traveled the time to going to many like centuries, thousands of years later. That's why it's also harder for people to comprehend. Because when we, like, as you said, right, when we are born, we never seen anything like that. So the people's imagination is a bit like limited to imagine life in North Korea right now.
Yeah, it's because it is so closed off, and I can't even imagine the culture shock, let alone the way that you have to change your thinking. I remember reading your book, and you talked about the concept of the lack of self-identity and the lack of self-thinking and self-awareness that you and a lot of people had in North Korea, because people are taught to think as only for what the leadership wants and what their role in society is in helping the leadership, and that thinking about what you want or what you want to do with your life is not as common of a concept there. I remember reading about. Is that right?
Exactly. So when you're born in North Korea, using the word I is the worst thing you can do. You don't call yourself I. There's no individuality. So even when I say I like skincare, I use instead the word we like skincare. Instead I say like I like pink color, I can say we like pink color. So they kill the individuality through vocabulary, and also people don't know what love is in North Korea. And only love that we learn in school is the written form of word that when we describe our feelings towards the leader. So I never heard my mom told me that she loved me, or seen my parents saying they love each other. So using that word love was so common here, was very hard. And of course, there's no concept for human rights. So it was almost like 1984 George Orwell's, you know, that kind of dystopia. It's exactly that kind of dystopia that he described in his book.
It's fascinating in the sense that it's so different, but it's also so saddening and horrifying, because self-identity has something that's always been so powerful to me. That was such a powerful thing to me that allowed me to get through all the trials I went through, and your trials that you went through were so just infinitely more massive. It's so sad to me to think that you didn't have as much of a concept of self, just because that's the only thing that got me through. So I can't even imagine what that's like, having to learn that. Would you say it's been really liberating and freeing to know that, or was it really difficult to like begin thinking about, you know, yourself in that way?
Honestly, it was hard. It was very hard to understand freedom, you know, not knowing what individuality was. And because until I went to South Korea, I never owned myself. Like I could never say, like, I get up in the morning, I'm gonna set this goal for my life, I'm gonna do this for my day. Like when you are born in North Korea, like every single day is scheduled by the regime. They tell you what second you do, what to wear, you know, what kind of haircut you can literally have, what kind of songs you can see, what you can watch. People literally get executed for watching foreign movies. So going to South Korea, understanding like now I can decide what I'm gonna do with myself. And it was quite scary too, like what if I mess it up? You know, then I have to be responsible for the choices I made for myself. Really learning freedom wasn't easy. I mean, it was very painful, and it also was a very gradual process.
I'm so glad you were able to push through and able to learn and able to grow, because your growth has been, you know, incredible. You've, you know, written a book, but even starting a YouTube channel, you've grown so quickly on YouTube, which is amazing. Congratulations on all of your growth. It's so incredible to see, so inspiring to see, and I hope that, you know, people who watch this or people who watch your channel are able to see your story and know that they can also do it. But also anyone who, you know, is from North Korea and is able to escape, or anyone who's gone through a similar situation, I'm sure that they're looking up to you and seeing what you've been able to accomplish, and, you know, where you are at now. So just brava. I'm very proud of you. If you want to see different ways that you and I can help people who are in North Korea and people who have, you know, escaped and people who are trying to start a new life or just make a difference, go over to her channel. I'll have our video linked in the description box below. We're going to be talking about different ways that we can help, talking a little bit more about your story. And yeah, just thank you so much for coming on again. I really, really appreciate it.
That was such an honor and real pleasure. Thank you so much for everything.